Welcome back to This Week in Magic Online Finance. I'm your host, Chaz Andres, and let's get started with the news. I wanted to begin the week by taking a look at the markets because it's starting to look like Standard and Modern are beginning to head in slightly different directions. The Modern market has started to rebound enough over the past couple of weeks that I'm actually starting to feel good, or at least less bad, about its short-term future. And if we get that promised set of Modern exclusive reprints, which I really think might be announced next weekend during the Pro Tour, well, things could get pretty spicy pretty fast in Modern. Now, the Standard Index, on the other hand, it just sort of continues to drop. And that makes sense. MTGO is sort of losing ground to Arena in terms of Standard. Arena's pulling a lot of Standard players over there. Prices continue to drop because demand goes down on MTGO. That doesn't mean there aren't good Standard specs on MTGO. We're actually going to be talking about a few of them a little bit later. It's just that overall, I'm not sure what the future of the Standard market on MTGO is going to look like, and lower prices is probably going to be the new normal. A lot of what's keeping the prices propped up now are things like really good Modern cards and set redemption. And those set redemption windows, they just sort of keep getting smaller, so yeah, that's where Standard is at right now. Now, the other story I wanted to highlight this week is the emergence of a new KCI variant in Modern. Yeah, it's kind of Arclight Ironworks without Arclight Ironworks, or at least it's doing a bunch of artifact nonsense anyway. It uses cards like Semblance Anvil and Grinding Stone, and that's led to a couple of quick and interesting price spikes. Semblance Anvil is up from bulk to about a ticket and a half, Grinding Station up from bulk to about 2 tickets. So I have no idea how legit this deck is. It's still a little bit too early to say, and we're sort of basing these results off of one streamer's 5-0 on stream, so we'll find out, I guess. Regardless, I actually think this is a decent deck to buy into right now on MTGO. It's very different in paper, where Semblance Anvil spiked from $2 up to $15, and spending $60 on a set of Semblance Anvils is not worth the risk. Online, you can spend 4 tickets on a set of Semblance Anvils, and yeah, I'd say that's definitely worth the risk just in case this is a legit and fun new strategy in Modern. Let's move on now to gaining ground, where the card that gained the most ground in Standard this week was yet again Arclight Phoenix. It jumped another 7 tickets from 39 all the way up to 46, and even crazier, the rally doesn't appear to be over. Even though 50 tickets seems like an almost impossible ask for a card in today's MTGO financial climate, much less one that's Standard legal, that doesn't seem to be out of the question for Arclight Phoenix. Now, even though this is the Standard segment of the show, it's worth noting that Arclight Phoenix is basically shut out of Standard right now. Seriously, if you look at the latest 5-0 deck list dump that WotC gave us, where they really try to include a diverse number of decks, there are no Arclight Phoenixes at all. This price increase is almost entirely due to Modern, where Arclight Phoenix is now a staple in 2 top-tier lists. I really still think you should probably sell Arclight Phoenix into the hype, but I also said that 10 tickets ago and also 20 tickets ago, so your mileage may vary on this one. At any rate, it's nice to see an honest rally on MTGO. Now, before we move on to Modern, I'd like to actually take a moment to highlight a Standard card that gained ground this week due to, actual play in Standard. And that's Biogenic Ooze, which gained about 2 tickets this week, jumping from 3 to 5, and this is mostly due to the emergence of a mono-green Pelt Collector deck that's been showing up lately and making some waves. This is a deck that really hasn't taken the metagame by storm yet, but it has some real promise. And if it takes off, cards like Nullhide Ferox and Steelleaf Champion are going to be the next to gain value, so this is a deck that I would definitely pay attention to going forward. Moving on to Modern proper, we have another repeat winner this week. It's Surgical Extraction, gaining about 6 tickets from 39 up to 45. Kind of eerily similar to the Arclight Phoenix rally, right? Well, there is one big difference here, which is that it really does look like Surgical Extraction is peaking at 45 and it may actually start to drop a little bit, or at least it's going to plateau. Regardless, even though this is a very good and very powerful card that's a big part of the Modern metagame, I'm still selling my copies while they're on top. Let's move on now to the biggest loser, where in Standard, it was Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. And this is a sharp contrast to the paper price, where Teferi's been really stable in the $50 to $60 range for several months now. But on MTGO, its price just keeps on dropping. This week it took another 5-ticket tumble from 17 all the way down to 12. So what's going on here? Well, a large part of it is what I said in the intro. People are playing more of their Standard matches over on Arena, which means that prices and demand on MTGO, especially in Standard, have continued to drop. It's also true, however, that Esper Control is not really the consensus second best deck in Standard anymore. It's still firmly on the second tier, especially in terms of metagame percentage, but there are several other decks that are on there now, like Mono Red and Mono Blue and Esper Midrange and Is It Drakes and several others. So what that means is that a card like Teferi, which really only sees play in one deck Esper Control, is really susceptible to losses at the moment, and that's what's happening. Moving over to Modern, our biggest loser of the week was actually Snapcaster Mage. It lost about a ticket and a half, dropping from 8.5 down to about 7. Did you even know that Snapcaster Mage had dropped below 10 tickets on MTGO? I hadn't. Anyway, this ticket and a half loss is roughly negating about a 2-ticket gain that the card had last week, and the drop has actually bottomed out and begun to rebound again. At any rate, I don't think you can go wrong buying Snapcaster Mage at 7. I mean, especially if we are getting a new set of Modern cards, this thing is going to go crazy, and even if not, it is fundamentally a very powerful card. I am definitely in on this one right now. Now, our sneak of the week this week is Back to Basics, one of the most important cards in all of Legacy, and a card that was as low as 2 tickets back in mid-January when Ultimate Masters was everywhere all over MTGO. Well, the price started to rise since then. It's gained about 6 tickets, it's up to about 8 now and continuing to climb. I don't think this card is going to get anywhere near the 40 ticket mark, which is what it was at back, before the Ultimate Masters reprint, but it's definitely continuing to rise. I definitely think it's going to break 10 and might head toward 20. So if you're a Legacy player and you've been holding off on buying Back to Basics, this is really your last chance. I'd definitely pick those up soon. As always, we're going to end the week by taking a look at the MTGO Trader sales data over the past 7 days. And this gives us a really good picture of which cards are selling the best right now, regardless of price increases or decreases. Looking at overall sales by volume, I'd like to highlight Pteramander, one of the most powerful cards in Ravnica Allegiance. Yeah, it's just an uncommon. We don't talk about uncommons much on this show because on MTGO they tend to be cheap as dirt, but Pteramander is actually one of those rare uncommons that's been at or near the 1 ticket mark ever since release. And I actually think there's room to grow here. Pteramander was our 3rd best-selling card of the entire week across all of Magic, and people really want to cast this card. It's proven itself across multiple formats now, and I think it's got some room to still continue to climb. Now, in terms of overall sales by price, Surgical Extraction and Arclight Phoenix, which were numbers 1 and 2 last week, have been relegated to the 2 and 3 spots this week. They've all been beat by Hydroid Krasis, which has surged all the way to the #1 best-selling card by price this week, despite being about 10 tickets cheaper than either of the 2 cards behind it. Now, we didn't really talk about Hydroid Krasis today, but it is worth noting that the price has been really stable for the past couple of weeks. And even though I'm still a bit skittish about buying into Standard cards right now in the current financial climate, I do think that Hydroid Krasis is by far one of the safest and most stable cards in the entire format. And that's because of, well, the data you can see here. The price is expensive because people are buying it, and that's the kind of metric that makes me feel good about a card's financial future. And that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Chaz Andres, and I will see you next Monday morning for another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance.